that all council is present and accounted for. Councilmen, you each have actually two sets of minutes from last month. There was a public housing hearing first, followed by the regular November 4th council meeting. So if you would look over those minutes and see if there needs to be any additions or corrections. And after you've had a chance to do that, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve both the Mitchell City Council minutes and the public hearing housing grant minutes from last month.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The minutes have been approved. All right, under old business, golf cart, off-road vehicle ordinance review. This isn't a new ordinance, this isn't a change in ordinance, this is just, we're kind of going back to something that we have not really paid a lot of attention to. Current city ordinance requires a yearly safety inspection to operate a golf cart or over-the-road vehicle on city streets. This inspection would be done by the police department. Normally hours would be 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. weekdays. If you work during those hours and can't make that appointment, just call in and we've had an officer meet you for the inspection. The inspection is for safety and liability. Basically, it covers headlights, taillights, brakes, rear view mirror, and then one of three, got it here somewhere, the orange pennant flag, like you see sometimes on a golf course, or the slow-moving vehicle emblem, which is what most people use, or if you have turn signals front and rear that work, that will suffice as well. You will get a sticker, it will be placed on the vehicle, and that's something that should be done on a yearly basis. We ask that the inspection be done by May 1st of each year. As I said, the reason for doing it is a safety and liability issue. I'm sure some of you have seen some drivers that were less than legal age. You must have a driver's license, valid driver's license, to operate the golf cart or the off-road vehicle on city streets. I know I saw someone that I was pretty sure they might have been 12 years old if you were stretching it, and that's just not safe. It's not safe for them, it's not safe for their parents, and therefore we're gonna kind of bring back watching this. And so we're asking for the community's cooperation in regards to that. Anything else I should add to that, Troy, or is that pretty well covered?
18 and older. 18 and older and a driver's license.
18 and older and a driver's license.
Okay, Troy, we discussed, I think last meeting, but we mentioned about maybe somebody that doesn't have a driver's license. I mean, if that's the only mode of transportation, I think it'd be left up to the officer to find out what do you perceive on that?
Well, I mean, you're going to, if they don't have a driver's license, there's usually a reason why. If they're adult age, it's either because they can't drive because of their habits, or what have you. So, or just, very rarely do they just have never gotten. But, I mean, that would be,
Very minimal.
I personally don't feel comfortable with that. I think they have to have a driver's license. So, because they've already, if they've had their license taken from them for driving reasons, then I don't think we should be condoning them driving even a smaller vehicle on the city streets. So,
Okay.
so Now, the moped, the Indiana statute on the mopeds is different, they will allow for ID. But it doesn't.
Is that a under 50 cc's? Is that correct?
Yeah.
What's the age on that?
Really, it runs into the same thing, really. Because it does not require an ID. You can have somebody that's younger than 18 operate one of those. So, just because it does not require that, because they look at it more of a motorized bicycle than anything else. So, it falls into that statute regulations. So, yeah. But now, under 18, it would it's kind of a melding of the two, right? Because if they're operating one of those under 18, they have to have a helmet, right? Just like they would on a motorcycle as well, so. It's kind of a mismatch of all that. It was kind of a catch-all, is what it was. So,
Well, one thing about the golf carts that I'd like to see, us get a little bit harder on, they need to follow the rules. You stop at a stop sign, you stop, you yield at yield signs. You don't just blow through just because you're golf cart.
right,
They're supposed to use the same rules
They
that
follow the rules of the road.
rules of the road, yeah.
and this will give us an opportunity to kind of enforce that when we're doing inspections and talking to them about, this is what the rules are, and everything else, kind of give them a reminder, this is what was expected of you in that way.
Good communications with them.
Right. So,
Any other questions in regard to that?
I think, of course, the only thing down at the bottom is we can, operate on Hamilton Boulevard,
right, and that's just based on the speed.
Meridian Road, so those are off limits.
Do we charge anything for that? For the inspection and the sticker fee and all?
At this time, we're not. It is in the ordinance, but there is some question as to, like, off-road vehicles, for instance. A lot of them are already licensed by the state, so you can't double license something. So at this time, my opinion is that we're just gonna put the sticker on there. The main thing is the safety inspection. It is in the ordinance at a later date, if we want to institute a fee, it's in there, it says $25, we can do so. But, my suggestion at this time is concentrate on the safety aspect of it, and we'll worry about the other later.
Don, what is the anything about liability insurance? If they would hit someone's car, if they would
Of course.
the.
It's in the ordinance.
It's in there.
They're
That's-
required.
And, these, over the road, you got them, when they take them out in the woods and go everywhere, they can drive those, is that the same thing that needs to be inspected, or is that a state thing now?
They need to be inspected if they're in the city, yes.
Okay,
And that does not cover four-wheelers.
okay, yeah,
This is only side-by-sides.
yeah,
So, yeah.
no four-wheelers legally, you're just out in the county, so.
And that's where your side-by-sides and your four-wheelers can go out in the county, your golf carts cannot. They're not legal in the county, so.
So they're inspected by you, if they are driving around, they haven't been inspected, you pull them over, is that a ticketable violation?
It is.
Okay.
Is there a certain place on the golf cart that's gonna be placed?
Well, and that's really just needs to be easily recognizable. So, I mean, every model's got a little differences in it, and it's kind of hard to say it's gonna be in one specific spot. But somewhere where fairly close to the driver is what I would recommend on it that you've got on there. So, yeah. So when you look at, because you're gonna see your driver more readily than anything else. So if you have that sticker somewhere in the general area of that driver, then you know where to look at
So it's gonna be,
The licensed person,
it. Do what?
can underage drive with the license? Okay. So you have to have a license. period.
You have to have you'd have to have a permit. I mean, you could do it on your permit with just
Yeah,
like
that's
when you
what-
were driving a car.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I
Same
was
thing,
asking.
but yeah. So,
Well, the ones I see is not even old enough for.
yeah, and that's where a lot of that has gotten kind of pushed to the rear where it's not been. you know, other things going on,
Right.
so.
And I think, you know, once there's some action taken and the permits and word of mouth gets out, it's gonna be a work in progress for a little bit to get back in the groove, so, like anything.
It's like anything else that we do, we would rather tell them, educate them, let them know what's going on, have them do it themselves, than us have to force that,
Yep.
so.
It's good.
All right, I'm gonna move on to the next item, which is update on the columbarium. The concrete work is done. There's parking space for 4 vehicles. Columbarium will be delivered here on December the 9th. The council will need to set a fee for the city to charge per each niche. We did send out some information based on what Bedford charges. They have a marble columbarium, which is almost identical to what we have. The fees include opening and closing for a funeral, but they do not include engraving on the door. That would be extra. I'll give you these Bedford fees. Like I said, this is just a guideline. They actually price theirs different from top to bottom. $2,200 per niche on top, $2,100 on the second row, $2,000 on the third, and $1,900 on the bottom. If we sold all the niches at that price, it would raise $98,400. The current cost of the columbarium that we are putting in with the parking is $42,000. The difference would allow us to buy the next columbarium without borrowing money, which is what we had to do on the first one. Plus, any difference after that would be put in the perpetual care cemetery fund, which is the case when a gravesite is purchased. Some of that money is put in perpetual care fund. Council, it is up to you to set a fee schedule for that. Like I said, the Bedford numbers, I did go online and look at a few other places, and while that may seem like a lot of money, that really was on the low end. A lot of places were charging several $1,000s more per niche, so it's open for discussion, what you think.
The opening and the closing, who does that?
Mitchell Cemetery worker will be there along with,
Okay.
through the funeral home.
Okay.
They'll be joined.
And the opening, closing of the vault or niche is included.
It's
in that
included in the
price.
price when you purchase it. The only thing you'll have to do extra is pay for the engraving, and right now the Marshall Monument in Salem said the engraving, depending on how much, is $200 to $250 per bronze door.
And there's no like perpetuating fee that you have to pay after you pay the money?
No,
Okay.
part of that money that you pay up front goes into a
Right,
perpetual fee.
okay.
Would you say the levels were on that, what they had, top level?
Top was $2,200, and the second was $2,100, third was $2,000, and the bottom was $1,900.
Is there a reason for that? I mean, I don't
Well, I was,
quite get that.
I was a little surprised that it, that it mattered. you
Some
know.
people wanna be on
Yeah.
the top
The
and
one, yeah. I
they don't
love
have to bend over to see grandma's name.
So,
it. How big are these? I mean,
roughly 11.5 by 11.5 inches.
So you could at least ways get 2 people in there, right? 2 urns?
That would be,
Been one size of arm?
depending on the size of the urn, how big a boy are you, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
And then your other concern is, went over to Bedford and looked at theirs.
Mm.
No one, they were all individuals. You could tell it was husband and wife because of the same last name, but they were side by side. Your problem would be getting all the names and the dates on the bronze door.
Right.
Now, if the urns were, I mean, you've bought the niche, and if the urns are small enough to fit in there, and you don't mind it being engraved maybe in smaller lettering, I don't personally see a problem, you bought that. But they're designed for one, is what the company will tell you.
Well, I was just wondering because if I passed and my wife wanted to be next to me, then it means I'm gonna have to come up with $4,800 or whatever right then so that I can get the one right together. Then two of them together, because if not, it might be somebody gets theirs in between me. I mean, I was just wondering if if you could get two of them in there. I mean, I don't know how much, I don't even know how to do that, May not be a very big pile, they may have to pile some more in there to fill it up.
Vicky, what's the cost of a lot and a meal?
$5.50.
$5.50?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's George, that's what we did in 2022.
Yeah.
That's also,
Is that the one you emailed before?
may have been,
Well, this is for the cemetery.
that's for your cemetery.
Yeah.
I don't know, would there be a possibility of all of them same price? Or,
To me, that's your call.
Why don't we take all 3 rows, or how many rows there are? Take that amount of money, put it together, average it, and
split it?
split it all.
What are you doing, George?
That's a thought. We got 21.
It was what, 22, 21, 19, and
Two.
2. Split them all together and just have them all same price.
We'll just sell them all at 2,000.
I'd like to know what the reasoning was for.
It'd be $20.50 if you.
Yeah,
if
There
you-
might be,
Yeah.
there might be. a
Well, I
valid
mean, that way
reason.
you're choosing your spot, so people will want to choose
Yeah.
and pay more to get the prime location. People come in and look at cemetery plots, they want a certain location, or they wanna be,
Yeah,
In this
they're not
area-
paying more for it.
no, but this is a very limited, finite number of spots, so people
So if I
choose to
wanna
be,
Top dog, I can pay the 2,100 or 2,200.
yes, exactly.
I think we just need to be straight across $2,000, leave it that way. That's my opinion.
That is a council decision.
Well, I think that if we don't do that, you know what I mean? I don't think, now I may be wrong, I don't believe at $2,000 a pop, we're gonna have a run on people going over there buying columbarium spots beforehand to keep somebody else from getting the one that they want.
I'll be surprised.
Well, that
I
might be.
will say that, speaking to funeral home directors, there is a demand for it, and people will go elsewhere to be buried for a columbarium, so that's kind of what I've been told, so.
Old Lane's John Paul, they got their set in yet,
I don't think they've got it set in yet.
but I didn't know if they had anybody that already put their names in for them, or.
I don't think they've sold any. The cemetery board over there is looking at the rules, we made up, we made up an application and, rules, and one thing they did, no pets.
Right.
That's a big deal to some people, but theirs is 2 people per niche is the maximum, but like the mayor said, the problem with that is you can't get the names on the door. It'd have to be Mr. and Mrs. Cause I think it was 32 letters, did they tell you?
About that.
Yeah, I think it's 32 characters is the most they can get on the door.
Simple, as simple as you can get.
Right, but yeah, I could get you, show you what rules we came up with and, just kinda limitations, stuff you don't think about. But I don't think they've priced theirs yet.
I'm kinda,
I was gonna say,
thinking of all the same.
At 32 letters, you were gonna be hard pressed to get a person's name in there, the day they were born, and then the date that they passed, because you're gonna exceed your 32 letters, and then you're gonna say, well, we're gonna have to put it in, instead of saying June the 19th, we're gonna have to put it in 06, so we gain a letter here and gain a letter there. I mean, 32 letters ain't very much for you to put any kind of information on a period.
And the size of those, you're gonna be limited to, it won't be like a headstone. You have to size it down, be shorthand or something. I'd kinda like to see it.
Yeah,
Scrolls out.
get a pull-out drawer.
I kinda like the middle of the road, average them out and go,
Oh,
what
goodness.
would you say?
2050.
2050.
2050? What do you guys think about that? George?
I think that's better, but I just think they want them to be the same, but it's,
Take the complication out of it.
yeah. There's old James on the top row there, the old skinny guy. There, he paid for it again.
We could, the ones on the lower, we could throw in a snow shovel.
Yeah.
No, I think we'll split it right in the center and go with that, so.
There's 4 rows, right? If you don't wanna go with the 2050, why don't we go with 2100 on the bottom and, 2100 at the top and, 19 at the bottom, 2 rows or whatever, I mean,
Once you just jump it to 21 for all of them,
there you go, I'm
21,
good with that too.
they give us an extra. Okay,
Oh, my. Yeah. You don't
does
really
somebody
hear
wanna make a motion?
I make a motion that on the columbariums, we charge $2,100 for all of the sites in the columbarium.
Second.
Got a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
and I think we can jump all, we can get some of those, guidelines, and we can kinda go over that too, and maybe adopt some of those.
Yeah, Vicky, have you done any type of, application or?
No,
Okay,
I mean,
I'll
we were just
send-
gonna follow the rules of this current, the cemetery now, so.
I'll send you what I drafted up, you guys can look at it and talk about it in January.
And I would think in them rules, and it may be that, nameplate has to be gone through the cemetery crew. I mean, they can't just go out and get them plaque made,
No.
that has to be.
They would get deed, I'm assuming they would get deeded just like
Yeah,
a
that
cemetery
would
space, so they'd have to have
plaque would
ownership
have
to
be
get that.
Match everything else, and not just go out and get you.
The doors are made by the same company, so they will all match, so it won't be just whatever you want. Okay, reminder for Christmas downtown, Saturday the 14th is kind of an all-day event sponsored by Mitchell Parks and Rec. Starting roughly at noon, there'll be a couple of sessions with Santa making cookies and telling stories. There'll be stories at the Mitchell Library from 2 to 4. Santa will visit downtown for pictures from 4 to 5:30 in Friendship Park. Be a scavenger hunt downtown, find the elf in the window of downtown businesses. There'll be cookies, hot cocoa, hot cider. The cocoa and cider will be at no charge. You will be able to buy chili. There will be, several vendors set up. There'll be food trucks set up. The Grinch will be giving rides from 4 to 5:30, the Grinchmobile. There'll be a parade. There'll be a tree lighting at 6 o'clock. The parade will follow right after that. So it's gonna be a very, very busy Saturday. The details, there's more details on Facebook, so if you wanna check that. And 7th, we would have 7th Street closed from Main to the railroad track, which is where they're gonna be setting up. Any questions on that?
While we're talking about Christmas, I know this is late, but maybe next year. I would like to see, and I don't know if there's a problem with us decorating over here at the city hall. I mean, they're not even Christmas lights, I don't think.
Not outside, there's trees inside, but.
I mean, you go around through all these other little towns and stuff, even some of the cities, they got their town hall, you know where it's at. Shows a little bit of spirit, we don't show any spirit.
Well, we did put up 20 new snowflake decorations, which are considerably nicer, I think, than the wreaths that we had before. So kind of like one step at a time. I mean, I agree with you that the city hall area would be nice to have some decorations too outside, but,
It's too late for this year.
yeah.
Something to
But
think about
budget
next
wise,
year.
I felt like we spent enough extra on the snowflakes that we can consider moving it up a notch next go around. Okay, let's see, building permit fee schedule. Did everyone have some information on that? We're kinda doing that, and that is an ordinance change, because the old schedule is ancient, and the bottom fees were rather ridiculous. I wrote a couple up myself early in the year, and one was like $2, the other was $4. That's not worth your time to write them up, get them recorded, send them to the assessor, take them to the bank, because you have to, if you know the city business, you have to bank every day, can't keep any money. So, we decided we would come up with a higher base fee, and the second thing was then when someone comes in, wants to build a home, and you say, well, how much is your new home gonna cost? Well, lots of times they're not real sure, and usually it costs more than they think it does. So partly we decided to do this, and Vicki did most of the legwork on getting some local figures to see what some of the other communities were doing, so we kind of ballparked it based on what they're doing. So I'll go through it real quickly. Total valuation, if what you're doing is less than 100, we're not gonna charge any fee. The building commissioner always has that discretion. If he thinks it's extremely minor, he can just waive it. If it's between 100 and 500, we just charge a flat $10. If it's over 500 and it does not require any structural changes, no major plumbing or electrical. For example, you're putting up a fence, you're replacing windows in your house, you're putting a new driveway in, you're putting a roof on, you're putting siding on, any of those would just be a flat $25. If it's over 500 and you're remodeling extensively, you're tearing your kitchen out or your bathroom out, putting all brand new and taking a wall out, the base fee would be $35, and then it would be a nickel a square foot for the room that you've gutted out. So if it was like a small bathroom, a 10 by 10, you'd have your $35 fee, and then you'd have another $5, so it'd be $40 for your permit. New residents, that's 500 or more dollars, which I would say that would be a oxymoron. Would be a base fee of $50.10 a square foot. For example, if we used a 1,400 square foot home, I talked to two builders and came up with an average cost in this area of $160 a square foot, is what they said today's cost, depending on the kind of materials you use, but that's somewhere in the middle. So using our old schedule, the one that we've had for years, a 1,400 square foot home, the fee would be $155 for the permit. If we use a new schedule that's based on $50 fee and then 10 cents a square foot, it would be $190 for your permit. So it would be a little bit more, but that kind of is reflective of the times. And then if we, in the commercial field, if it's a project over 500, the flat fee would be $150 plus 10 cents a square foot. So that's an outline. Once again, those numbers can be they can be moved. I would definitely suggest that we make sure that we don't go below $10 on a fee, because it at least needs to be worth your time to sit down and write it out and file it and make a record down at the clerk's office and then take it over to the assessor. I mean, that's a lot of work for $10 worth of paperwork.
So
Any,
this is the person that's doing all this work, the contractor has to get this, is that correct? Or the person that's doing it?
well, eventually it's gonna come from the person that's building the home. I mean, you know, the homeowner, he's paying the contract.
Right, but I'm
So it's
saying,
in his
who
fee.
has to get the permit?
Either one of them can come in and get it.
Okay.
I mean, the permit will say who the homeowner is, and it will have the address.
Something I'd like to add to this, is the cleanup of the construction site, materials, dirt, anything that's laying around that's, once they're done with the construction, it needs to be put back to where it's graded to grade level, and, it doesn't have to be landscaped immediately, but, we've got some places where we got here in town that's got dirt piled. I can throw a stone and hit it, so anybody knows where I live, knows what I'm talking about.
We can put that on the bottom of the permit application, that you've got 30 days or something after the construction's finished to,
I think there ought to be a penalty if it's not done. If you don't get anything, if you don't slap their hand somehow, there's no reason to do it. It's just like a kid, if you don't make them mind, they'll just keep doing it. So if you don't tag something on there that says, you gotta either clean it up or you're gonna pay it.
okay, that would,
That's why that's why I said something, George, are you gonna penalize the guy that lives there, or are you gonna penalize the people that did the work and left it like that?
It'd be the owner, wouldn't it? I mean, I would think it'd be the property owner's responsibility.
it'd be up to them to deal with this contractor and say, I want that out of here, that's part of the deal.
And then if he has to go back on to the contractor. But it's just like,
Unless you make the fine exorbitant, then it's not gonna do anybody any good to try to take a contractor to court for $250.
those small claims,
Yeah.
but
You could put a clause in there saying that your contractor can't file for another permit until that one's taken care of.
that's a good point.
Do you have a figure in mind because we'll have to write all that into this? Does this general structure seem okay, or do you wanna have a workshop to go over it?
I think we're good on that. I think we're good on that. I am, you guys?
Yeah, seems reasonable to me.
I don't know, on the, of course, the cleanup, that would be, after of course, there's usually a final inspection on the building, but then I think there should be another inspection after so many days. What do you think, Renee, after 60 days?
It makes a difference too, time of year.
Yeah.
So many times they cannot get in there, so if you would have to always, to me, have it in a tickler file to keep looking to see, okay, it's March, we've had good warm weather, that should be gone.
How about,
So-
if you put a reinspection from the building commissioner on the outside, 60 days, but then the building commissioner would have the leeway of saying, we got 8 foot of snow here, we're gonna give you a couple more months or whatever to have some discretion there.
Yeah.
And,
It still needs a date, it needs an end time,
yeah,
and then if they need longer, then work on that.
yeah,
Sometimes end of year is really a hard thing, or end of a season.
yeah,
But they wanna get the house sold.
Yeah.
They wanna be finished, they want that yard in, and they want a new family to come in there, and they're not gonna do that with the whole front yard full of dirt.
60 days, good enough from the start.
I don't know,
What kind of fee?
Yeah.
well, I think Chris is right, you gotta
$100.
make it, worth.
Well, my thinking is if you're gonna do something and you build a house, you leave a pile of dirt lay out there. If you don't make it painful to them, they're never gonna move it. They're just gonna say, well, we just leave that set out there. We might be going to use that dirt, okay, well, okay, well, good.
Store it somewhere else.
Yeah, store it somewhere else. But if I think that what we ought to do is if you're gonna give them, let's say you give them 30 days and they come back and look at it again. Then from that point forward, if the building inspector or whoever deems that you need to go, I say you fine them $25 or $50 a day for every day they don't move it.
Don, one thing we could have is at the last occupancy inspection, that the yard has to be ready, the dirt has to be gone, you're ready to move in a family. So that is when we have to do that, when they're getting ready to close on the house,
Well, that would be a good place to put it.
right?
And you could, have a little leverage.
Right. Well,
You could take, before their water and sewage is turned on, gotta be cleaned up. That might be some leverage too, but, we may have to come back and revisit.
right. But you don't have, but this is not just being tailored to new construction, because there's old construction that is just as bad as the new stuff, and there's people already living there, they just let it go, maybe that falls under the category of the building inspector or whoever going out there staking their house, telling them, hey, you're in violation of the, your place looks terrible clause,
Nuisance.
yeah.
Add that to the list.
I think you should have a limit on their stuff too, if you,
That wouldn't be anything with building permit.
well, they have to get a building permit to have it done, right?
Yeah.
So that would fall under the same category as a new construction building permit.
Yeah, cause if they go in and gut a room, throw all the trash out there in their yard, bring in new wood and all that for the remodel, what are they gonna do with the trash that they threw out in the yard that needs to be cleaned up?
Okay, for the cleanup, what do we wanna do, charge $100, $200
Well,
after 60 days?
What do you mean for us? Oh, okay, I don't know, I was thinking that, like, you give them 30 days or something, after that, you fine them $50 a day for every day they don't have it
I'd
cleaned
say
up.
that'd be hard to keep track of.
I would give them whether you want it to be 30 or 60, fine $100, come back, give them another 30 days, you could raise the fine if you want to. Or at that point, you can say, we're gonna clean it up and you're gonna get a bill.
Could do that.
Yeah. You can start like that, all right, if you wanna put down 60 days, and then at the end of 60 days, if you haven't cleaned it, then the city will clean it up and we will charge you a flat $1,000 or something, I don't care.
Whatever the manpower is.
Yeah.
So,
Manpower fee plus tipping
Right.
fee.
Right.
yeah, let's do $100, after 60 days.
Okay.
Is that good, you guys?
Yeah.
Zach?
Fine with that.
you wanna go one step further and go $200 after the additional, or after 90 days, and then the next 30 days, it's the city cleaning it up,
Okay, that too.
Got some steps
that
there.
gives them a deadline.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, somebody wanna make a motion to that
I'll make a
effect?
motion, what do you want, I'll make make a motion that we accept what we had talked about right here as far as building fees and permits. And cleanup.
I second that motion.
Alright, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Alright, we'll get that changed in the ordinance then. Alright.
Just on that, we'll have to,
We have to do we're gonna have to suspend the rules and do that twice since it's an ordinance change. So I'll need a motion to suspend the rules.
I make a motion to suspend the rules so that we can get this passed tonight.
Okay, need a second?
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Alright, opposed? Alright. I'm not gonna read that whole thing again. I'm just gonna say what was said before.
ditto.
Ditto, if someone wants to make a motion for the second time.
I make a motion that we accept fees, the building permits, and the penalties for not finishing up with the building permits.
They have a second?
I second that motion.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Alright. We will do this for a third time. You're so good at this, Chris, you wanna do that again?
I make a motion for the third time that we pass the building fees, the permits, and the penalties in case you don't, get your property under control there.
I second.
Alright, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Alright. Now we are legal. We will get that into the ordinance, get it written up, get it in the format, and then give everybody a copy, so you'll have one. You can put it in your ordinance book. Okay, we can move to new business, proposal to adjust fireman run reimbursement. Currently, get my sheet out here. Currently, volunteer firemen are reimbursed per run. And this proposal actually comes, Wayne brought this to me from the fire department itself, and the reason that they are making this proposal is it's an attempt to save salary money, reimbursement money, so that it can be used to buy equipment. Some of the equipment is beginning to get out of date, needs to be replaced. And currently, in 2024, the salary budget for the volunteer fire department was $20,000. And if we change to what's proposed, which is a kind of a bracket rather than per run, for instance, if you made 1% to 24% of the runs, you'd get $100. This is for the whole year. If you made 25 to 49% of the runs, you'd get 250. If you made 50% to 74%, you would get 500. If you made 75 to 100% of all the runs, you would get 750. And then you would still also get your $100 a year clothing allowance and $100 a year fuel allowance. Based on a department of 20 people, which we don't have 16 right now, but Wayne used the figure of 20, which I guess that maybe would be the ideal number to have. Using that, and then he went back and looked at how many people answered runs this year, and that would save the department $6,700, which could be used to buy materials, whether it's hoses, helmets, hoods, gloves, boots, to outfit the gear for one fireman. Right now it's about $5,200. Now, we just have 16 firemen. So with 16 firemen, you're saving $9,000 by using that bracket. Like I said, this is a proposal on their part to put some of the money that they have been receiving and putting it into equipment for better service to the community. The only thing I saw, I mean, it all looked good to me, other than I do think there ought to be a minimum number of runs that you have to make to get any kind of reimbursement. The reason I say that is someone could make 2 runs, and that may well be 1%, and they're getting $300 for 2 runs, and I don't wanna see that happen. So I would say that you have to make 10 runs a year to be considered, a volunteer fireman. Any less than that, and you're not really part of the department. Of course, you may get in there and do 2 runs, and I just don't like this isn't for me. I mean, I could see that happen, and I don't think we should pay somebody $300 for making 2 runs. That's just my opinion. Council, once again, I mean, it's your call to, tinker with this, you wanna think about it,
What do you pay now on, is it twice a year or once a year?
The ordinance says we pay every month, so
Every
that's what
month,
we've been
okay.
doing. Last year they paid every 6 months, we pay every month.
This would be better for you
We would, yeah, we would still wanna,
as far as.
we would still want a monthly
You still
report.
gotta keep track of what the.
Yeah.
Runs are, but as far as cutting checks and everything, it helps
It'd be
you
one
out.
and done.
One and done, so, okay. I agree with that.
I agree with the mayor, I think you have to have a minimum, 10 runs, if that's what we all decide on, that's,
How many
That's
runs do
fine.
I have a year average?
Well,
Right now, of course, we're at a little over 900 runs this year so far.
Is that,
most of those are
Fire.
medical.
how many
It's fire and medical both.
fire medical, what's your fire regular run now? Estimate?
About 20%.
20%. So this pay here is basically for your,
That's
fire runs?
what we have is payable runs now. We only have 3 medically certified people.
Okay, so this is basically for your fire runs?
Yes.
Correct.
Everything's gonna be kept track of on the spreadsheet that I gave Vicky. Payments to missing child, I mean, so.
And I think it's a good idea to save your money, and hopefully that it can be kept in your department. Like I told Gerald, and he didn't like it, but, I mean, if, I should explain myself a little better with him, but, he's trying to save money, you're trying to save money. And if all possible, and I think it's the council, it is mine, that money stays in your department. But if there's something catastrophic, then, money might have to be transferred. It don't matter, maybe a fire truck burns up, so we may have to draw money from another department if they've saved, which try not to take out the incentive to do good on your department. But we all have to help each other out if we have a major problem.
No, and I agree with that, I understand that completely.
And,
And then as I was explaining to Don, it's not his fault, it's not your guys' fault. There's stuff that's been put on the back burner for a while now, and now it's time to do it. And
Yeah. And it's our intention, or like I said, it's mine, and, probably the council agree too, that, if you save money, it's good to keep it in your department and be able to use it there. But if I don't wanna say I promise that everything will go back in case there's, catastrophe, I guess you might say, catastrophic, what we talked about at the last meeting, so, on the budget, so, but.
Well, each of the departments gets a budget update at the end of each month.
Yeah.
So they know where they're at in their spending, where we're close, where we've got some wiggle room, so I think that makes it a little better for them, cause he and I talk, I feel like every month we talk about money in a good way, and so they all know what's going on, what they have to spend, when it's getting too tight, and we wanna take a look at other things, so,
Like you say,
I feel very confident we can manage
I
that.
don't wish anything bad, but if you had a couple of trucks that caught on fire and burned up, that's some extra money we might have to cough up somewhere. Whether if we go out for a loan or if we try to do it in-house, so. But I do think, if you save money, you should be able to use it, police departments anyway, if you're saving money, hopefully it stays in your department, so.
schedule here that you've submitted here, has it been talked to all your volunteers, are they on
Yes.
board?
Every one of the volunteers signed off on this. We, discussed it at one of our meetings in June or July, before I brought it to Tyler, Vicky, and Don's attention. About this, I believe that was back in the middle of summer. Yeah, everybody on the department's in agreement with.
Great. What did you say that you had for fire runs?
Probably 20% of our runs are paid runs.
So that'd be 20% of 900, so that'd be like 180.
Roughly, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm kind of, you know, I mean, 1% of 180 is two. You know, so, I mean, if we're gonna do anything for the $100, as far as what the mayor was talking, why don't we bump that 1% up to, I don't know, 5% or 10%? If you make 10% of the runs, you're only talking about making 18.
No, I'm good with changing the 10 to 10%. I mean, I don't think anybody in the department would have to. We try to, let me say we, I try to push people to attend at least half the meetings a year and so many runs a year. And if they're not gonna participate and help, Ben, you've been in the position as a fire chief, there's no sense of having them there wasting our money and our time.
Right, that's the only thing I see here is just that amount there, the $100 for, you know, really 1.8 fire runs, you know, I mean, they're gonna get $100, where if the other guy is gonna get, if he made 100% of them, he made 180 of them, he's getting $750, you know? I mean, so I think that we ought to change that like from 1 to 10%, so 10% to 24% of the runs made, then they get the $100.
Plus they're also getting the fuel and the clothing,
Okay.
so they're getting 300, so. I agree with you, I think it needs to be up.
Change that to 10?
Yeah.
And the clothing and the fuel, that's a state mandated too.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, ready for the motion?
Yep.
I'll make a motion that we accept this proposal, with the change of, 10% instead of 1%, 24, 10% from 24. And we'll go with it that route.
Can we start that in January? Is that okay?
Yes, yes, it should be, yes. And I'll add that to start off in January. 2025.
I second that.
Okay. Got a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Alright.
Opposed? All right, once again, to get this in effect, we need to suspend the rules, so I need a motion to suspend the rules so we can read it 2 more times.
Okay, second reading, accept the proposal, with the 10% instead of 1%. Start, January, effective January 2025.
I second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Third reading, suspend the rules, accept the proposal of firefighters, department, with the 10% instead of 1%, effective January 2025.
I second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That will be changed then in that ordinance for salary portion. Okay, next is, holiday schedule, city council schedule, and board of work schedule. The 2025 holiday schedule will be the same holidays as last year, which you have a copy. The 2025 city council meetings will be the same as last year, first Monday of each month at 7 PM in council chambers, with the exception of September when the meeting will be on Tuesday. The 2025 Board of Works meetings be the same as last year, first and third Thursdays at 3 p.m. in council chambers, with the exception of June 19th, when the meeting will be on Friday the 20th. If there's any discussion, if you wanna make any changes, or if those schedules are okay.
Make a motion that we accept all three schedules, date schedules. If there's changes that have to be made through the year, we can make those changes, as long as they're posted and everything, so.
I second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Alright, the schedules are accepted. Next on the agenda is request approval to use ARPA funds for our 25% match for our paving project that was just completed, where we used the Community Crossroads grant, from the state. The paving I'm talking about is Teak Burton, 8th Street, and, part of Grissom. State share of that was $148,845. Our match is $49,615. That comes out of ARPA funds. We already approved the project, but the law on ARPA funds requires that has to be specifically approved as well. So I'm asking for a motion that we approve our match out of ARPA money.
I'll make the motion.
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
If you will be able to pay that bill, that'll make Temple very happy.
Christmas present.
Yep. Okay, ARA 2025 membership. Would request that we pay our membership to ARA, which is Administrative Resources Association. They search for and write grants. The yearly membership fee is $7,700. They have secured several grants in the past for us, and at least our history shows that we get far more than our $7,700 back in the grants that they get for us. So I would ask if someone would make a motion that we continue our membership.
I make a motion that we, pay our, ARA 2025 membership.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries as well. Okay, year-end appropriations and account transfers. It's the year end, so we got lots of housekeeping to do. Gotta do some cleanup work here. The transfers can be done tonight. That's just moving some money from one account to another so that they'll balance out. It says here, this is transfer of appropriation resolution. It has been determined that it is now necessary to transfer appropriation from one major budget category to another in the budget year 2024. Whereas this transfer of appropriation does not require expenditure of more money than the total amount set out in the budget as finally determined by the state. Whereas the transfer is made at a regular public meeting, whereas the transfer will be certified to the clerk treasurer. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mitchell's Council, Lawrence County, Indiana, that the following transfer appropriations be made to the 2024 budget. Under the general fund, increase in appropriation under supplies of $4,810, followed by a decrease in the general fund of personal services of $4,810. In the motor vehicle highway fund, increase in appropriation for capital outlays of $23,390, and a decrease in the same fund under services and charges for $23,390. And then in the Parks Department, increase in appropriation of other services and charges, $7,255, with a decrease in supplies of $7,255. In other words, there's an increase and then there's a decrease, so they balance out. Any questions on those? It's just taking the money out of your right pocket, and put it in your left pocket.
I make a motion to accept the transfer appropriation resolution.
I second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. I believe that will take care of that.
I'm gonna talk about the meeting that we'll have to have for the additional appropriations.
All right, year-end appropriations. Now, that's a little bit different in that that has to be advertised. If I can find it, here we go. All right, notice, to taxpayers of additional appropriations. Notice is hereby given to the taxpayers of Mitchell, Lawrence County, Indiana, that the proper fiscal body will consider the following additional appropriations in excess of the budget for the current year at the location of City Hall at 7 p.m. on the 16th day of December. We'll have a breakdown of those additional appropriations at that meeting. That will be the only thing that we will do at that meeting. It lasts 5-10 minutes at the most. Once again, it's another housekeeping move that we have to do to keep State Board of Accounts happy. And it's just real nice to keep the State Board of Accounts happy, because when they come and do their audits, they can be here a long time if you don't take care of your business. But Vicki has done an outstanding job, and I'm not saying that just because it's her birthday. She has done an outstanding job getting these numbers straight, and it's things just like these transfers and these additional appropriations, that when the auditors come, they go, great, give you a check mark, and they're here 2 or 3 days and they leave.
Thank you.
That's what we want.
Thank you very much. My wife told me to tell you happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
I said I wouldn't have.
Any other business
Oh, really?
before the council? Vicki?
I'll bring you a candle with a.
I didn't see anyone sign in, so.
Yeah.
Till the 16th, you say?
16th,
Yeah.
That's a Monday.
And the additional appropriations are basically for the audit expense that we didn't have budgeted for. And then when we increased our payroll, the people we were working with helping us set our budget did not make the appropriate increases in FICA, some tax information, and we didn't factor in that increase into our liability insurance and workman's comp. So a lot of things increased, kind of a snowball effect that they didn't have budgeted. So this will just correct that and get us back on track, so.
Anything else before the council? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
One second.
All in favor can say aye and we can leave.
Aye.